should the Detroit Lions pursue Josh Jacobs or Tony Pollard? And the second part to that question, Jeff, is should they draft Bijan Robinson in the first round? Those are your three options. And you can answer no to all of them. You can answer yes to one or two.
Right.
But let's start with free agency. Are you shelling out the money it would require for Josh Jacobs or a Tony Pollard?
So, if Brad Holmes was going to pursue a running back, it would be those two, in my opinion. Two guys that have been healthy for a majority of their career. Both guys that have produced. I mean, Tony Pollard sharing a backfield. He almost has 1,000 yards. I do think Dallas is going to do everything in their power to try and keep him. And for Josh Jacobs, that's the big one for me because I can see a team overpaying for Josh Jacobs. I mean, he's probably going to demand, if we look at expected market value, this is per Spotrac, he's expected to get around 4 years, about $50 million. We'll see what a team pays for him. If I'm being honest with you, as much as I would love a workhorse back, I do feel like this team needs someone that you can put a lot of pressure on, put a ton of carries on. And Josh Jacobs right now is second in the NFL in attempts. I mean, he has 306 on the season. So there's your workhorse. But I don't think they should delegate that money to a running back. With how bad this defense is, that should be number one. The offense, even with Swift and Jamal, yes, lately the run game has taken a hit, and they're going to need to address that, whether it's in draft or free agency. I just think with this offensive line, it gives you so much flexibility with what you can do at the running back position. You don't need a Josh Jacobs. You don't need a Tony Pollard, even though those guys would be great assets. It's not like you don't have an offensive line and you need somebody like a Jacobs or a Pollard to kind of create something out of nothing. This offensive line has shown you they could produce 100-yard backs. They did it last year with Craig Reynolds. But you want a consistent guy back there. I mean, Jamal, as much as I love him, he's not your RB1. He's not an RB1, even though he's having a good year. And Swift, to me, is a shell of what we expected him to be. So they're going to have to address it. But to answer your question, Adam, I just don't think the money should be pushed to a running back. Maybe you draft one. And Bijan in the first, it's intriguing. But something tells me that when Bijan, you're expecting him to be there by the time the Lions pick with their actual draft pick, which is like 18 right now, I believe. I just think there'll be better defensive players available. So I would say no. Don't draft Bijan. I would say no to all of those options. Find a running back either in the second, I would probably say third round, that you feel like has talent and you can utilize. But no, I'm going to say no, they should not pursue a Jacobs or a Pollard. Even though those guys are intriguing, I just don't think the money makes sense for where the Lions are right now. You just get cap space and you go spend it on a running back.
Well, here's the problem.
Doesn't sound right.
I agree. So my answer is none to any of those. I don't want a running back in the first round. I don't want to pay Tony Pollard, and I don't want to pay Josh Jacobs. Yeah. Why? I have projected $28 million this upcoming offseason. What am I doing with it? I'm going to the defensive side of the ball, and I'm looking at secondary players. I'm looking at Bradley Roby. I'm looking at Anthony Brown out of Dallas. I'm looking at James Bradbury from Philly. I'm looking at Jonathan Jones from New England. These are guys that are probably going to cost $7, $8, $9, $10 million a year. All right, well, that's a third of the cap space already gone. Well, I want to go maybe at linebacker, a Devin Bush, maybe a Roquan Smith, maybe somebody like an Anthony Walker Jr. out of Cleveland. That's going to cost me another $7, $8, $9 million. All right, so now I got $10 million to work with. Well, I still got to draft.
Yeah.
I got 2 rookies in the first round, 2 in the second round. I got to sign those players. So if I'm going to shell out money, it's on a linebacker and a secondary player. That is it.
Right.
Or depending on my draft strategy, the opposite. Maybe it's an interior lineman in the draft. Maybe it's a secondary player in the draft, and then I go get the linebacker and somebody else in free agency. Who knows? But I know in the second and third round, I can take my chance, if you want to call it that, on a running back, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not paying Josh Jacobs $12 million a year, Pollard $12.5, 13, 14 million a year.
It hasn't really worked out that much in recent history paying a running back.
It just doesn't work. It's not important anymore.
Zeke Elliott. I mean,
we never used to pay wide receivers, remember?
Right.
And now, if you don't pay a wide receiver, you're stupid. Why? The game changed. The game has changed. Mm-hmm. Now, you still need to run the ball. You need to run the ball situationally. You need to have the threat, the ability to run the ball. It helps your offense, especially the Lions, so much. But anybody can do it behind that offensive line. So Whether you resign Jamal Williams, whether you give Swift the load again next year, and you draft maybe a third, fourth round running back, and he's just there just in case Swift goes down, fine. But I'm not shelling out money in free agency. If I'm spending money, I'm going to the defensive side of the ball, and I'm looking at some of these young players.
Yeah.
And I'm asking myself, can I sign them? Can I go get an Arden Key from Jacksonville? Can I go get a Deron Payne interior lineman from Washington?
That'd be a good one.
I wouldn't want Eli Apple, so I'm going to pass on that. But I think you know where I'm going here. Tremaine Edmonds, he's probably going to get re-signed, though. So I can't really count him or Devin Bush, to be honest.
And I love this comment, too, because it's exactly how I feel. Zach brought up in the chat, woodwardsports.com, Jacobs is going off because he's playing for a contract. He won't be playing like this after he gets his money. And now I don't think all of a sudden his production will drop off, but that's got to be a factor with Pollard.
I think that's such an insult to players.
No, and again, but I see where he's coming from because you have Jacobs and Pollard both on contract years. Like, of course, you can't lie.
Yeah, but they're finally getting touches, and you're seeing what they can do when they get the ball. I mean...
But you can't lie that you're in a contract year, the motivation's... It's like Zeke. Before he got paid.
Yeah.
And then Zeke got paid, now all of a sudden you're splitting carries with Pollard. I get what he's saying. For running backs in their contract here, you give them money, you pay Jacobs, give him a multi-year deal, $10 million average, whatever it is. You better hope he leads the league in rushing yards for next season if you pay him. I don't think it's worth it.
I mean, Jacobs, again, he's gotten 300 carries for the first time in his career. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't. Dude's on pace to run for 1,700 yards.
Yeah, he's balling this year.
And he's going to get paid, and rightfully so. And maybe he is a Derrick Henry, that type of mold. Who knows? But are you willing to pay that kind of money? I'm not. I have 2 first-round picks I'd like to sign, 2 second-round picks I'd like to sign, an entire draft class I'd like to sign.
Right.
I'd like to bring in veteran secondary help, veteran linebacker help, veteran anybody on the front 7, for God's sake. That's what I'm doing with the $28 million projected that I have this offseason. That's it. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. I'm not shelling out half of that money for a running back. That would, to me, be a big mistake.
And if you look on top of that, guess where Pollard was drafted at?
Pollard? Pollard was what, a third, fourth round running back?
It was a 4th round pick, 128th overall. And then Josh Jacobs was
a first round running back. And they didn't even pick up his first year option.
So, again, and it doesn't discredit the talent those guys have. Clearly, Pollard and Jacobs, to me, are, because Saquon's probably going back to New York, so those two, to me, are the most intriguing. But it kind of proves the point I'm making with Pollard. I mean, you found him in the 4th round. Don't tell me Brad Holmes can't find a running back. If he targets one in the first 3-4 rounds, that has talent. So I got faith in Brad. I'm going to keep the money away from running backs.
I'm with you. And then Bijan? Thoughts on Bijan Robinson, first round?
Love him. I just don't think by the time he's available with that second first-round pick, I just think there'll be better defensive players, and I'd rather take one of those guys than a Bijan. Now, if nobody Brad Holmes likes is there, then yes, maybe you'd take a Bijan. And maybe a player that Brad Holmes likes will be there for the second round. Maybe you do take Bijan. But no, I would take the best defensive player.
All right, we'll go to the comment section. MF Jester says, okay, but we need a running back who can run the ball right away. It takes rookies 2 to 3 years. Dude, shut the fuck up.
Jester, you've been watching.
Damian Pierce.
I'll say you've been watching.
Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
You want to go to last year's class? How about Breece Hall this year?
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor's first year?
Jonathan Taylor.
You draft guys, they come out right away.
Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
What are we doing, guys?
That's how it works, man. You pay them on a cheap deal, and you get the most production.
You draft them in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round, and you call it a life, and that's it.
Right.
And if they're good, great. If they're not, who cares? Move on. It's a running back. Craig Reynolds could run behind this O-line. Think about that.
He just won't be as consistent as some of these other backs.
Maybe not as dynamic, but you're not trying to win the game because of your running back.
Yeah.
You're trying to win the game because you're effective at running situationally on 3rd down.
This isn't the
second
Titans.
And short.
The Titans, I can see why you pay Derrick Henry.
Of course, he's your team.
You're right. Right.
You're giving him 30 carries. He's going for $170, and you're trying to control the clock. It's a whole different team.
Right.
They're limited on offense. Their defense is banged up. Of course they're playing like that. No problem. That's not the Lions.
And I love this comment. Anthony Hurley, WoodwardSports.com. Pacheco went in the 6th round. Looking pretty good for the Chiefs, don't he? And they just took Clyde Edwards-Helaire only, 2 seasons ago in the 1st round. So, again, the moral of the story is you can find production from running backs late in the draft.
Here. Let's answer this question. Name me the top 5 rookie running backs this year. Okay, dipshit. We'll go Tyler Algier, Damian Pierce, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Kenneth Walker, Zonovan Knight's having a good year, James Cook's having a good year. Anybody else? Rashad White out of Tampa Bay, he's having a good year.
He's been producing too.
So anybody want to argue that running backs aren't? I think this is insane, Jester. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to sound like an asshole to you, buddy, but even the year before, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris was a first-round pick, though, so he can't count.
But late,
So was Travis Etienne. So I'm going to go only with second-round picks and after. Trey Sermon didn't work out. Michael Carter, he worked out. Ramondre Stevenson, fourth-round pick. Elijah Mitchell, sixth-round pick. Guys, these are quality backs.
When was Breece Hall drafted? Wasn't that...
Breece Hall was a second-round pick this past year.
I would classify that as another one. So
God, you can find a running back every single year. It's that simple. You put Damian Pierce in this backfield. What is he running for, 1,300 yards?
Yeah.
Because he was on pace to do it in fucking Houston.
Yeah.
God.
And,
take a break.
Jester said, but they're not top 7 running back. It doesn't matter. I mean,
you don't need a top 7.
Yeah.
All right. No.
To get one right away, your first year be a top 7 running back.
I don't let shit slide. We're not doing this. Hey, fuckface. I want the camera, please. All right, fuckface. You want to do this? I'll play this game with you. Let's go to Buffalo. Do Buffalo have a top 7 running back? Let's see. No, they don't, and they're first in their division. Do Kansas City have a top 7 running back? No, they don't. They're first in their division. Do the Bengals have a top 7 running back? Yes, they do. They have Joe Mixon. They're first in their division. That is fair. Jacksonville, do they have a top 7 running back? No, they don't. They are the top of their division. The Eagles, do they have a top 7 running back? No, they absolutely do not. They are top in their division. Do the Niners have a top 7 running back? Yes, they do. They're top of their division. They acquired him mid-season, though. They still would have been top of the North, or top of the West, excuse me. But regardless, I'll give you that one. So you have 2 of the current 8 division leaders. Dalvin Cook, sure. There you go, 3. And the Buccaneers, Rashad White, is he a top 7 running back? Leonard Fournette, maybe you could argue Fournette.
But you don't need a top 7 running back. You're
5 of the 8 division leaders right now don't have a top running back.
And by the way, the Bengals, Joe Mixon, second-round pick. So
ridiculous.
Thought I'd sprinkle that in there.
Ridiculous.
Moral of the story, no. Don't go out and spend money on a running back.
Moral of the story, don't be a fucking idiot.